Hey, Mr. Greg Ugalde, what's happening, man?
Good morning. Good morning. It's great to be here, Dave. I look forward to it.
Yeah, you know what? This is so exciting for me. Every time I get an opportunity to speak with some of the top folks at the NAHB, it just makes me really feel good about the innovation and the change and everything that we talk about on this show. And it means that people are really looking at Offsite and some of the things that are going on, and it is just an absolute honor to have you on.
Thank you. I
So.
appreciate that.
You're very welcome. All right, everybody. So if you're just tuning in, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Please like and share this right now. We want to get as many people, not only in this country, but from around the world, to tune in for this one because it's going to be very special. I mean, Greg Ugalde is the 2019 immediate past chair of the NAHB. And what I really love about Greg, you have been a builder for 25 plus years, developer. You have award-winning communities. You've been given awards for innovative design work. And on top of this, you're a practicing lawyer, which I'm sure helps you cut through the red tape in Washington, D.C. I love it, man. Thank you so much for showing up. And listen, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're gonna pay a little bit of a tribute.
Oh, so what happens with, just so that people understand, how our leadership team works at NAHB, you run for office as a third vice chairman. And you get on a ladder that goes third, second, first, and then you're the chairman, then you're immediate past. So you do budget along the way, you have advocacy oversight, you have all these different roles. Last year was my year as chairman, and now for immediate past, you have the international piece. You're in charge of the committee of past presidents and chairman, a little international travel, but also nominations and things like that. So you take more of the senior, you've been through it all, so you share a lot of that with your peers.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so in other words, you just don't step right into this position. There's a ladder of things that you need to get to it.
That's right.
You earn it. You earn the position. You get voted in.
I love it. I'd like to look at it that way, right?
You earn the position. I mean, the position's a super cool position. Well, listen, before we jump into this, I know that you had somebody very dear and near to your heart that was the 2017 past chair, recently passed away, Granger McDonald. Why don't you say a few words, and just so everybody knows?
Sure. So it was a week ago. We heard our dear friend, and many of you know him, and to know him is to love him. He was a bigger than life soul, and great leadership he had. He was in the multifamily area, mostly that space, and he was just a great friend, and he was a good mentor for many of us, and a tremendous heartfelt loss. And if we could, Davis, just take a moment of silence here in honor of Granger and to help support his family. Thank you all.
Yeah, no, thank you. And, our hearts go out to the McDonald family. And I'm sure everybody in our world of the NAHB and others, are very grateful for her service. So thanks. Greg, I got to ask it. It's the elephant in the room for me. What is it like going to the White House 3 times? And what is it like being in the Oval Office, regardless of politics and what people think, to be with the president while he's signing executive orders?
So
I have to know.
It's something. It's for real, I'll tell you, because I even had a chance to walk in the portico, like on American President, when it shows Michael Douglas walking there. So they have a tape of me, and we're having fun with that. But what happened is that it's so choreographed, because you can imagine all the security and things. But I'm the first chairman ever to be in the Oval Office. It's reserved for very few. And our housing affordability caught fire. So I was in there with a couple senators, and of course my dear friend, Secretary Carson. And so we have, when we create those opportunities from all that we do together, it's really something else. But I had the special mission that I got to take the basket of pens. So when he signed the EO, the executive order for housing affordability, my mantra, I get to pass out the pens. So I kept a couple of them. So I had an extra one that was pretty special. I think I heard somebody saying, "Hey, where's mine?" But no, we took care of everybody. But I did get an extra one for being the basket guy.
I love it. Hey, you know what? Very few people get that opportunity, and I can keep a smile on your face. It's a highlight. Definitely a highlight. All right. So Greg, let's hop into this, right? Let's hear a little bit about with the NAHB. You've been in a ton of meetings, all the things that you've been going through. Can you give us an update from the top, what you've been working on in these unsettling times?
Sure. I think one of the things to realize is that we as an industry, we're going strong. Okay. So we hit 2020 and we're off to the races, and our industry's rebounding. Even in the Northeast, we were seeing some improvements. COVID-19 hits. Now, from that point, everything changed. And what we had to do quickly was make our essential determination key all over the country. So those places, especially those initial few where we put together what was referred to as best practices, a toolbox to get everybody trying to get our industry, the whole home building, offsite construction, onsite, everything. We tried to get that to be essential, and we were quite successful at it. That set the platform for what we were able to do from there. We had to keep our eye, and continue to, obviously, on the legislation. There's always these energy efficiency type movements, and we have to monitor those, especially resiliency. Codes do a great deal for protecting our way of life and making sure that people live in safe homes. At the same time, we have to make sure that it's just money, no object. We have to make sure that housing affordability stays as one of the balances that we look at. Because if we start running up crazily the prices of homes, it all gets passed on to the consumer. There's only so often that we can have builders and developers trying to absorb those numbers. So that's where we've been headed. Try to keep the battles current, and bringing our industry to the forefront, Dave.
Yeah, sure. So how have you been working? Normally you have a ton of meetings on location. Have you been like the rest of the world where you have been remotely Zoom calling your life away?
So our staff, at the housing center has been up in the air the whole time, because DC keeps changing. Remember, it's like a melting pot. They get people from all over the world. They just keep bringing it in and out. And so we are phasing people back to work at the housing center. In the meantime, every day we use virtually all the software, all the latest social media and tools that we have at our fingertips. We use them all, and we have to. In fact, you have one of the best ones. You and I were talking about this, but we have to get that down, because what I'm finding is that we're even busier, because everything takes even more prep time to get it. So we had our leadership council meetings last week, and board of directors at our spring board meetings. It was a challenge, constant pressure of being live, so to speak, rather than being able to get up on a stage and just deliver the information and have that interaction. It's so much easier when it's that way. Sure.
So you had your spring board meetings, you have your fall board meetings coming up, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Can you give us some insight of what's happening at these spring meetings and the fall board of directors meetings that's coming up?
So what we do, for example, Building Systems Council, they're going to have all their working projects, everything that they're working on. We're going to get updates from all the councils and committees. That's a big part of what these meetings are about, because we are really pushing ahead. So our NACs, our national area chairman, our state reps, they all have duties and work that they're pushing out based on our strategic plan. So everything from our legislative efforts to education to bettering our job sites. I'll give you a perfect example. It took a while for us when we had that stand down for safety. And what we did was we had basically a uniform toolbox talk that went across the country at all job sites to show people what we need to do in this COVID-19, where you have to wear your face masks, you have to have social distancing, clean hands, clean tools, safety gloves, all these things. You have to keep your porta-johns clean, and we break that down. So this time when we circled around with our area caucuses and regions around the country, we're hearing that maybe we need to look back into that and make sure everybody's working safely and bring everybody to a current level, including maybe we need them in Spanish. Maybe we need to look at some of those things for our workforce. So we're constantly looking to better the Federation.
Yeah, I mean, always evolving, right? You have to if you're going to stay on top of it,
yes,
and be current and keep supporting the building network out there, the supplier network, all of us. So love it. So no meetings going on, even the Building Systems Council and all the stuff, the summits we have, everything's still kind of in the wings a little bit. What happens with that? Because those are big fundraising events for Build Pack and other things that needs to happen to support the NAHB and to support the lobbying efforts that are taking place in Washington, D.C. What are you guys doing about that?
So you're so right too, Dave, that a big part of what NAHB stands for is being together, is to the camaraderie, peer-to-peer discussions. What
Right.
we have to do this year, and we've been very successful and we keep building on it because it's such an important year for elections, are having Build Pack, a lot of virtual events, for example. Connecticut, as you know, your home state as well, but we have the largest single day event in the country, the entire country. We're one of the top, for a small state, we're one of the top Build Pack participants, and we raise the close to the most funds every year. And so, and certainly in a single event, what we're doing this year, we have our golf tournament at TPC. We realize that the night before dinner, the breakfast, the lunch, and the banquet after the tournament, those are all the keys to our Build Pack efforts. That's where we rub elbows, we raise some money after a great day of golf, right? On a course just after the pros get done.
Right.
This time we're going to do it a little differently. For this year, we're going to give our sponsors a little bit of a break, and we're going to be able to say, let's talk about where the issues are. We have bringing housing home for the legislators because we weren't able. It was a year we were supposed to go back up to the Capitol every other year. Right. We're going to bring it back home. We're going to do some of those virtually. So we have to fill in virtually for our contacts with the legislators, senators, and we're going to do a lot of our Build Pack work and fundraising. But I'm telling you, because people realize how important it is to keep stepping up, but we always have to do better.
As a builder for 20 years myself, I never realized, and when I was younger, how important when you get into building that the Build Pack, the NAHB, the Building Systems Council, how important you really are to protecting our rights out here, to minimizing the codes and the burdens that we need that are placed on us sometimes as builders, right? Because it'd be horrible if we didn't have people like yourself and people. I mean, there's a lot of people in the NAHB working for us day in and day out. And you're a face person, you're in front of people, but there's a ton of people behind the scenes that don't get on the camera like we do, that are really putting forth the effort to protect our rights, to help grow our industry. And I think it's so important to understand. And I know a lot of young builders don't get that in the beginning, but as you see the regulations change and it gets harder and harder, you realize how important you guys really, really are for us as an industry. So with that said, Greg, let's talk about some of the upcoming things in just a second, like IBS. But if you're just joining us right now, we have the immediate past chair of the NAHB, Greg Ugalde, on with us live. Please like and share this. And do not think that he's going to get out of here without us talking about offsite construction, because we will be talking about some offsite construction. But it's good to get through some of this housekeeping, because I think one of the big things right now that's kind of the elephant in the room is what's happening with IBS. I mean, last year, that's over 90, 100,000 people, I think it was, to go to that show. So there's 90 to 100,000 of us plus right now wondering, are we going to get to go to Orlando in 2021?
So it is one of the most difficult topics that we have to address, Dave, and we take it very seriously. It's a big part of our non-dues revenue. We have, all our members pay dues, but then we have, it's a critical asset besides being such a staple to what we're all about. As you said, think about those numbers and the education that takes place. It's the cutting edge products that you get to see, including offsite construction products in the where we're headed and the education piece of that. So where are we? Well, it's obviously a very difficult decision and something that we have to continue to monitor. So we have a task force that's set up to work alongside our meetings and conventions committee. And what this task force does is we have to monitor the first the federal government, then the state government in Florida, because we're in Orlando this year, right? So then we have all the convention people and their regulations and where they think that they're going to be able to go. So we have to monitor that. Then you have hotels, transportation, the shuttles, the transportation to and from the airport, to and from our sites, some of the things that we're trying to put on exhibit. And at the end of the day, what it's going to come down to, we're treating this as it's a green light of some sort of show. It's probably going to take a long time for it to be anything close to where it used to be. I mean, think about the packed education rooms where you'd sit along the sides, just packed on top of each other with every seat full. Think about how jam-packed the floor was, the exhibit floor. So we have to balance that. The task force looks at all of this. And at the end of the day, we have to make sure that our members get an acceptable experience, something that they can take home and say, boy, am I glad that we're doing that. And also an acceptable experience for our exhibitors. That's really key. The international piece, that space is not as active right now. And so we're playing a little catch up there. And I think that it's one of the areas that we have to really keep an eye on as we try to develop this thing moving forward. But overall, it's a decision that's made and updated weekly, daily really, but weekly. And we're trying to keep our members and the public, and especially we keep rolling out as much as we can, but we're always ready. When you look at the current statistics and
right,
what's happening with hospital visits and things just over the weekend, it changes so quickly and exponentially. They're starting to say now, we have to keep an eye on all of that.
Yeah, well, for sure. I mean, one, it's great having an event, but public safety is a big concern when you have that many people together. And that's great that you guys are working through it. I personally, for one, I really hope we have the event. It was a blast last year. I learned so much, and it's just amazing to see all the innovation and the products that are there each and every year. So absolutely.
Right? Cross your fingers.
Fingers crossed. Knock on wood. Knock on wood. All right. So that's one thing. Now, what's near and dear to our heart is this innovative housing showcase. Is that, something that we're still planning for? I mean, it's probably the same answer like with the IBS, but this is a really big event that launched, and this year was supposed to even be a bigger event for offsite construction.
Sure. And Dave, this one's a little bit more definitive and interesting. See, so with IBS, with all the moving parts, we keep something like that updated and we move forward on this. And the other thing is, just mention quick, we're going to have a lot of test cases. There's many people that are in the queue before us for conventions in some of these same companies. So we're going to see what they've been able to do and what their experience is. You can always learn from them. Innovative Housing Showcase, a little bit different. So Secretary Carson's office over at HUD, they're spearheading this, right? And so what they've decided with us is we've got to postpone it. We can't do it this fall. There's too many things, especially in DC, that are so up in the air, including social unrest. The rioting was made travel even more difficult to calculate. So the ability, and we had thousands of people on the mall. And so what we did, though, in a good way, is it's just postponed. More details to come, but the both teams are NAHB and HUD are still committed to it, which is great for the following year. So when we look at the landscape, probably more toward the fall in 2021, we will put together our thoughts. We understand too, and that you remember you taped a lot of these thoughts, that we have some work to do on that, because when HUD led through their financing products and things on what they wanted to cover and what they wanted to show, we needed to be broader to show what we're really doing with offsite construction and what the benefits are and some of the tools that we have. So that is always the energy that we're going to put forth. When Devin Perry and in your whole Building Systems Council is totally behind that, working on it with us to make sure that we keep trying to perfect more and more areas of it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Kudos to you guys. And I'm going to say, just the first housing innovation, it was a nice event, but it didn't encompass everything as us in the offsite community we're looking for it to encompass. But the fact that everybody came back to the table and said, all right, well, let's learn and let's keep going. It's never going to be perfect for everybody, but the continuing education that, hey, let's rewind this a little bit. Let's make it better the next year. You can't ask for more than that, right? That's really what it's all about. And you're right. Devin Perry, I saw, is joining us here. Before we hop into the conversation of offsite, why don't we see who's out there checking us out this morning? I'll just go through the list here, and we'll do some name calling. Hey, we got Shane McNutt from good morning from Ohio. Thank you for joining us, Shane. It's great to see you. George Ryman from Phoenix, Arizona is with us today. Anthony Goudet. Got to love Anthony. Anthony's down in Jersey. Let me see. Tiffany McCall, our current chair for the Building Systems Council. Good morning. Great to see you.
I just mentioned Building Systems Council. Yeah. Good morning.
We have Jerry McCullough. Good morning, Jerry. Tom Reddy. Now, this is Synergy Steel. They're doing panelized steel structures. Greg, great stuff. Love the consistent messaging nationwide. Great thoughts to educate the workforce. Ooh, and we will talk on workforce housing just a little bit coming up. Good morning, everyone. Jerry McCahey. What's happening, Jerry? We're gonna mention you at the end of the show, so you can't go anywhere. You better start liking and sharing.
In a good way.
Yeah. Shh, don't tell him that. He won't stick around. Here we go. Devin Perry. Great to see Greg Ugalde on Dave Cooper Live this morning. Devin, I'm just going to say it right now. You are one of the best things since sliced bread for building systems at the NAHB and Building Systems Council. So if you are not a part of the BSC, you need to be a part of it. If you're watching this, that guy that you see on your screen, well, both of them, but Devin Perry, when it comes to offsite construction, he has taken us to whole new levels. So Devin, thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
David
Absolutely.
Graham, good morning, all. Oh, there's Colby Swanson. You've met Colby before, haven't you, online one of these videos? Morning, Colby. Good to see you. Thank you. George Ryman, it's been a long time. Good seeing you. Oh, to David Graham. There you go, David. I plugged you again. So I think we have some other stuff here. So Colby Swanson asked, is there a plan B to go virtual for IBS 2021, or is it live or bust?
You know, Colby, that's a fair question, because that is something that we continue to wrestle with. I think that you will see some elements that IBS brings forth incorporated into a game plan. The danger that we face is that if we get into a danger zone where things just are not well received, it's not really what everybody wants. We'll have a lot of questionnaires and things before then, but you run the risk of people just saying, this isn't for me anymore. And we're coming off such a successful show and experience. We have to make sure to keep it at an attractive level. You know, that's one thing when we talk about Devin Perry and the efforts that we, the visual, the increased visual saturation that we're able to do, not only with building systems, but across all our products at NAHB. We need to keep that up. So yes, we always look at, for example, no matter what happens, we need to probably use some virtual education to supplement what's going on site, just because we can't fit everybody. So that's a good example, and I'm thinking of many. But yes, almost anything that we do now, you have to have a plan that incorporates a virtual experience and a way to get the work done and the business done in order to increase the experience. And that's all going to be part of it. We're hoping to make it the best possible, and we appreciate all your feedback as well, all of you.
Yeah, for sure. So that was the question. Colby wrote, I sure hope it goes live or virtual. So love it. Love it. Anthony Goudet wrote that. Well, you know what? I'm messing all up here. Anthony said to Colby, very good. So live or virtual, Greg, you only have two options. So we're either doing it live or you're doing it virtual. You can go back and tell everybody.
Or a combination. Or a combination, Dave. And I really think that that's where we are. I think that almost everything going forward, especially when you're talking, like you said, if we're approaching 100,000 people, there's just not enough social distancing in one spot to really think that we're bringing that many people into a building or whatever. So we've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, we really do. Absolutely. That's a lot of people. That's a ton of people.
Yeah.
So, all right, everybody.
About 6 feet in between.
If you're just joining us, LinkedIn Live, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, Greg Ugalde's. And Greg, I got questions. I got stuff coming from YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook. My eyes look like they're wandering. I'm just trying to keep up here. So
not a problem.
With that said, Tom Reddy from Synergy Steel brought up the mention of workforce housing. Or workforce development. I'm sorry. Do you want to touch on that a little bit?
Sure. You know, it's probably a good way to even highlight some of your efforts with building systems, offsite construction, and what the workforce development currently looks like. So HBI in our endowment, full speed ahead. Is it a great time? We're taking a lot of those graduates. We're bringing them into NAHB. We're trying to bring them into our industry. And when you look at the unemployment numbers around the country, there's so much fertile ground now to try and say, hey, look, we've got plenty of work. We've got outside work for you. We have inside. And one of the things that we're finding is the offsite construction piece. That whole space is a great opportunity for larger work crews to get together. And so a lot of young people are by that, and people entering the industry and saying, hey, look, here's critical mass. We could have a softball team. We could go, after we get done a good day of production, let's go out to happy hour, all that. So, that's part of this whole trying to utilize and attract workforce the best that we can. It's still one of our biggest challenges across the country, but we're seeing different openings that prior to COVID-19, we didn't have some of these possibilities that exist today.
Yeah, for sure. I always say it, Greg, to get the youth into our industry, we need to innovate. We need to not be in last place when it comes to innovation as an industry.
Right.
And I think that's what's going to bring us out of this. So as BIM software, virtual reality, 3D renderings, automation all comes into this, I think we're going to see the younger generation come back in droves, but we ourselves need to get it there to do that. So love it. Let's hop into offsite construction, Greg. This is near and dear to my heart. I'm going to put my soapbox over to the side so I don't jump on it and start touting what I love to tout. What do you see happening in the offsite construction industry from your end?
So I'm always a person, and you and I talk about these types of facts as we move forward. So when I have our economics team providing us with a stat that says demand for offsite construction is anticipated to increase over 5% annually through 2024. That's just a near snapshot to see. Sure, we're at 4% now, and we have a lot of areas where you can see growth. When you look at the opportunities and the advantages that you could bring, stay on labor for a minute. If you can focus your site prep, even in some of the rougher areas, New England's tough terrain, you have some of the more rocky areas, ideally the nice flat Midwest areas and all that kind of thing are perfect. But if you can use that as your main labor, and then you have your products delivered to the site, you're really jumping ahead of the system, whether it's panelization or everything steps. Just any time that you can use innovative products, it's helpful. And it just makes everything much more efficient. You're building in a controlled environment. Builders always fight that, the elements, the heat, even, never mind the snow and tougher elements like that. And then of course you're talking about purchasing in bulk a lot of times, which is giving you a material cost advantage, economies of scale, and all those things. I'm touching on these lightly, but it's things that builders are really starting to focus on. When we break out of this COVID-19 period, it's a different world. We have a lot different challenges that we face, but you look, and offsite construction is right there to help. That's the way I look at it. And I know that a lot of builders are starting to look at it. A lot of our members are saying, hey, we got to look into this, that kind of thing.
Well, it is happening. In fact, we just got a comment from Jerry. Here, I'll put it up so you can read it. It blocks our face. He said another national bone builder commits next few community in NorCal to offsite construction. Just got confirmation while I'm watching you. Great start to the week. Great indication the big builders are seeing advantages of offsite, and in Jerry's case, FiOS. So it is happening. We talked about this, Greg, and Jerry and I spoke about it. It's a matter of, if we're going to make homes affordable, offsite construction helps in several ways. One, it brings lean practices. Two, you're not filling your dumpster with a quarter of waste that you paid for as a builder, and you're throwing it all in the dumpster, right? Jerry and I went back and forth on this because I said, where's your dumpsters? And he wrote, what dumpsters? So I do think it's going to play a big portion in the future of what we're doing. It just makes sense. It really does. Yeah. It really makes sense. So I love it. I love it. Thanks for that comment, Jerry. It was great. I have another comment here. Ron Williams wrote, Greg, how is the COVID situation impacting the HBA's growth in events? How are the HBAs responding? Seeing any best practices at an HBA level?
So, Ron, that's really a key too that we have to look at, because backdrop of all of this, and I had mentioned to Dave pre-show that one of the things that we have to look at is our state level and our local level. It is tough out there because so many of our big non-dues revenue functions, whether it's golf or parade of homes or conventions, local home shows, all of these things are being deeply affected. So what we did at the national level, we gave everybody a 90-day breather, and we're hoping and we're working through a lot of our associations that way, helping them. But it is going to be quite different, and we're going to have to get more creative. Now, the good news is that it appears that people have taken this breather and are looking to come out shot out of a can at the other end. We have, and this is unbelievable to me, there's areas in this country, we have 7 states that weren't even affected at all yet by COVID-19. They have low hospitalization, low positive testing, and their demand for homes, their pricing, all of that is still flowing like it never happened. We're scratching our heads like, where we're talking about in the coasts and certain cities that have been struggling, we're still looking to break out of the last difficulties. Never mind try to get through these COVID-19 challenges. So we have those extremes where it's all growth to people that are trying to coax members into, okay, can we get people out maybe by fall, Christmas? Could we count on some light events by then to top off the virtual events? Going challenges, I appreciate the question, and it's something that we monitor daily. As far as best practices, that is what we're compiling. We do have in some of the conversations that our EOs are getting in among themselves, I do think that we're coming a ways on those things, but we continue to work at it.
Listen, so Greg, moving on here to keep going, we got more questions or comments coming in. Right now, offsite construction's only 4 to 5% of the entire market. Can you tell us, what are you guys looking at? Are you seeing a growth pattern in offsite construction from your end? Because we're seeing it coming from our end. I'd love to know what you guys at the top are thinking.
So I think that when you start at that stat that I just read, right, and you say everything focuses on demand to start. That's why I read that and utilize Dr. Deet's crew when Rob put something together like that for me. That's where I begin. Show me why it could grow and what that means next. If you look at the popularity just within our membership, forget about the purchasing public, but you look at how popular the building systems symposiums and all the efforts, anything that's being produced now has a decent shelf life. People want to see it. They want to learn about it because it's going to be very difficult, Dave, to see business as usual going down the road. So what does that mean? It looks, you're trying to take advantage of every trade secret, every trade invention, all the latest technology. You need to jump on that in order to survive and thrive. And that's what we're seeing. That's what members are doing. So all this time when you thought about, oh, that means I'm going to have to talk to my framers. They're not going to want to take a discount. What is this? It's just a mess. We're not doing badly the way we are. Quick story too. I mean, because we've done everything and we continue to try and experiment. So Builders Blitz, we have 6 builders in Connecticut, all on one site. It was beautiful. And we're building 6 homes for Builders Blitz. So we get the idea, my partner, Steve Temkin and I, and we were going to go with panelization. So the gun goes off. They have the foundations ready for us. And up comes our truck with the panel. They're looking like, T&M, what the heck is that? Isn't that cheating? How they, and their framers, right? And we're like, putting up the panels. hysterical. And it's things like that you look at. And guess what happened after that day? Everybody went home and hopped on their computer and said, where the heck do you get these things? Right? That's what we're starting to see.
Yeah, well, it's growing, just like Jerry even said earlier. I mean, it's across the country. We're seeing the growth in it, and we're expecting to see this growth continuing, and looking forward to it, because offsite to me is the future. I love it, absolutely love it. So let's hop into some of the things that are happening at the Building Systems Council level within the NAHB. And I know we wanted to touch on a couple member shout outs that are doing some really great things. And I think the reason this is so important, Greg, is there is some innovation happening. There is collaboration happening within Offsite. And I do think it's super important that everybody knows that all the way from us at the Building Systems Council level subcommittee, all the way to the top, you're aware of these things, and you guys are all looking at it and evaluating the situation constantly. And I think it's so important that you brought these up to me. You brought, and that's so important that I acknowledge that. This isn't me, touting these people, because I tout them all the time. So
and that was really what we talked about. So, and just so Devin and Tiffany know too, what this was, I just said, look, I'm going on. I would pick a few, just give me a kind of just a few examples. And that's what these are. This is the type of things that our members are looking at, doing, and trying to work together. They said, oh yeah, those guys, it's just great. The interaction between everybody.
Yeah. So Jerry, I hope you're still out there, because again, Team Integra, Jerry, I didn't put a capital M on your name. Well, you know what? I always get your name wrong. You'll just laugh it off probably. So the Ivory Prize, Jerry, you guys won that. Team Integra won that. When I say Jerry and your name's there, that probably should say Team Integra, because I know you're a big supporter of touting your team. So the Ivory Prize, Integra, that's a big deal. So way to go. Definitely way to go. We also, another person that's doing some really impressive stuff in the industry that's innovated and nobody's doing it is Impressa Modular, Ken Semler's organization. So you can have your opinions about which is the best way to do it, but the fact that people are taking leaps and strides to make stuff happen that hasn't been happening, I think is absolutely amazing. And from what I'm hearing, it's going extremely well. We have the Modular Mobilization Coalition, right? Vaughn Buckley and Colby Swanson. I know Colby was on. So quick shout out to those guys. Now, this is what's really cool, Greg. When was the last time you saw a bunch of builders that normally could compete if they wanted to against each other pull together and say, you know what, we're stronger as one? And that's
and remember those conversations that we had early COVID-19. This is the kind of you hate to say taking advantage, but you're using what the current experiences dictate. Yep. And you say, we've got to get better, and this is how we're going to do it. Let's work together. That's what this is a great example of.
It really was. In a time of need, they did pull together, and they've come up with some really, really great solutions, not only for the COVID issue, but they came up with great affordable solutions for the future and reusing and keeping stuff out of the landfill, which is absolutely amazing. All right. So listen, we're going to get into a little bit more. We have the NAHB Building Systems Week is August 3rd through the 7th. So everybody knows. So let's plug that in there. And one of the key features, presentations is Katerra, isn't it? Let me see. Yeah, August webinar featuring Katerra, mass timber. What's your thoughts on that?
So, it's funny because what I always find amazing is that as we push forward and we identify all these new products and the wave of the future, a lot of that wave includes products that we have. It's just different uses, different applications, ways to utilize in systems that just haven't been thought of. And you're going to start seeing that. This is a great example of that.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Let me ask you a question as well. What roadblocks do you foresee or do you not foresee any for offsite construction moving forward from your viewpoint?
What was the first part, Dave?
What roadblocks do you see for offsite construction?
I think that the predominant roadblock, if you call it that, is exposure. It's like so many other things. And that's why I really take my hat off. Now, you have to understand. So last week was 24/7. I was in spring board meetings and on the mic all last week. And, you almost collapse when it's done. This is a challenge. When you asked me to be on this show, I jumped at it. I said, Monday, okay, it's a challenge. I'm digging out. But you know what? That's how important this is. Your effort, what we're doing to get the industry as a whole, but our members are one of my main concerns, obviously, to know about this and benefit from it. And as soon as that starts happening, I'm amazed all the time how little people know. People are so busy. They can't look at their emails. They can't get the experience that they need to benefit from this. But when it catches on, when those dominoes start falling, it's just going to go. It's going to change our industry, no doubt.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I agree with you. It's exposure. It's getting the word out there. There's even a few of us on the panelized side, in the volumetric and modular side, that are going to talk about, hey, how do we join forces to get the word out there? That this is, to our belief, the better way to build, for sure. For sure. All right. So listen, if you have questions, Greg, it's been 50 minutes already, man. Holy man.
It's already 10 up.
It's already 10 up. So, hey, if you're out there, now is your time to get your questions in. So I would get your questions in now. We're going to get to the comments, and then we're going to end with that last quote that you had. All right.
Okay. And Dave, let's make sure too that as we're looking at questions, don't anybody think if we don't get to answer or you think of something after, reach out. We're going to get you the answers. We'll get you the information, whatever you need. This isn't your last chance by any stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure you just put it in the comments, and we'll go back and review the comments to review it, or send us a private message for sure. Thank you for that, Greg. All right. Where are we here? Colby Swanson had a comment regarding modular and its traction. Seattle put out an RFP for 500 homeless apartments, and modular technology is preferred. Great acknowledgement from municipalities regarding modular. Okay, that's good. Wow. Love it. Love it. Tom Reddy, great to hear all the values delivered by offsite manufacturing being sung from the top. Some additional byproducts: employee education, job site safety, schedule consistency, clean work sites, all driving a safety conscious work environment. That's impressive, right? I mean, those are all definitely things that play a part here.
And see, part of the issue, Dave, and those both raise a point that I keep seeing, is that what we're forced to do to get people's attention is we have to use the sound bites, the buzzwords. That's what you have to do. So now what I find is that, and I almost felt myself doing it, is that you fall into those canned responses almost, so that people have become, we know that, but they're not even paying attention to those anymore. What we need to do is mix it up a little bit and get it so that people are hearing it different ways. Right. Because, you read through those like, what are you talking about? These are game changers. Every single one of those comments that were just made, for example. I mean, cleaner, safer job site. What are you kidding me? Everybody strives for that.
Yeah. Safety. It's a big issue and a big line item for builders, for sure. All right. Tom Reddy, when the panels arrive and are installed, they surprise everyone on the job sites. Love it. All right. Colby, does Greg see the modular industry evolving faster than on-site, embracing new building technologies, new materials? Can he share examples?
Okay, that's a great question, actually, because that's really the key. And what I would like to have us start thinking in terms of is that it's not one at the expense of the other, say. A healthy competition, not bad, and that's fine. But what I think we really need is the ability to see they complement each other. And I think that, for example, builders that are my size. So let's say we have 8 to 10 communities going. Let's say that you take baby steps. And let's say that also as part of that, you see something that works, the steps go over here, maybe some panels go over here, you work it out with those framers. So let me answer it this way. I think that there's no doubt that if we could just take everybody, put them in a room and shake some sense into them, that Offsite has to take a key role and be at least as competitive as Onsite. What Onsite is it's traditional, it's what we know. We're going to be coming out of a difficult time, so we're going to rely on what we know. But what we have to do is find a way to infiltrate that, to make the experience easy enough to take advantage of and to make it pleasant enough, take away a lot of the fear, the anxiety. And I think those are roads that I'm starting to see. You know, when we have a plant in North Carolina that can push out a home every 45 minutes, that's got to open eyes. You know, you start putting those on trucks and, you know, builders have to think, geez, I could get 10 homes done next week, push those right to sales. Forget about the multifamily uses, as well as, you know, some of these things that you're looking for social engineering projects that was just mentioned in Seattle, for example, the schools, dorms, everything. It's just so much easier to boop, pop it in. So we have a lot of work to do in that, but I think that with the proper implementation, and I think what we're also trying to do, a big part of it and why we do things like today. In fact, Dave and I were talking about, you know, he'll hit on this more, but just that we need to do this more often. We need to because the bridge between people that are already doing it in the marketplace, let's offer some innovative ways to expand. And I think that that's where we have to start building on it. And I know that's where Devin focuses too, is that, you know, we have a built-in market. It's right there. It's our members. And we have to figure it out. I'll give you a quick example. So when things got tough last time, we went to remodeling. And our remodeling council took a real takeoff because builders saw that people weren't comfortable enough. They didn't feel, where's my job going to be? What's going to happen? But their family's getting bigger. You know, they have to figure out what they're going to do with their home. So remodeling really took off. I think you're going to start seeing some of those same, where do we go from here? And offsite construction, building systems are right there in the crosshairs.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I'm going to take you up on having you on the show more often. We'll talk about that offline, but I think it would be great to have those updates from you. I think it's really important to our community and just the community out here in general to hear from you more often and really get the real you, because this is live, unedited. This is Greg Ugalde, and this is what you get in person too, because we've met a couple of times out in the road.
Yeah,
So I'm going to throw one at you here. So let me put this up real quick. This is an answer to well, you know, Mark, you chimed in on a BS Friday once with Mark. Build bare naked Willie is what he is on BS Friday. But he spoke to Jerry McCoffey, we're gaining traction. We need an accelerator. And that answer is because Jerry posted this in the comments. Why is it, despite all the recent McKinsey reports, that NAHB has not had a more direct, proactive approach to try to get builders implement the recommendations as a way to am I reading that right? Implement the recommendations as a way to some of the issues we have been talking about, as a way to, right. So how come the NAHB is not being an accelerator, I think is kind of what Jerry's saying, and helping us push a better way to build.
You know, we have that similar issue in a number of spots. For example, education in some ways. It's not uncommon when you have 77 years of history in how things are done. So you have our members are executive officers around the country, our states and locals, expecting to hear certain things, expecting to see things a certain way. So as innovative as we would like to see ourselves get, it is still a bridge that we have to cross, and we all have to work on this together. You come out of the building systems meetings, right? And you get together for the 3 days, and you go there, you share the knowledge, you get so excited about everything that's going on. And when you have a small convention like that in a bunch of meetings, you come out thinking everybody shares this same idea. The next step is to create that excitement level, exactly what you're saying. What's the accelerator? And that's what we all have to focus on. And I have to tell you, we have so many mountains of issues in front of us, and in life or death issues. This has to be pushed onto the top of the heap, and to make sure that we can get this in front of the members is many ways as possible. And it's a big challenge. I don't have the immediate answer, or I think it would already be in place, but it's something we can't give up on collectively.
Nope. But we can continue to educate. We can continue to talk about it, and we can continue to debate it back and forth. And that's what's gonna drive the conversation. Because I agree. It's all about education, and it's all about just getting our name out there. And we talk, we'll win. All right. So let's. We had one quote here to wrap it up, Mr. Ugalde. Go ahead. You want to read it?
So this is what, I have, I have to speak quite a bit around the country, and now it's virtually a lot, but so what they always try to do is come up with some creative things for me. Reagan came up with this one. How great is this? Timber building could be the old new frontier. When she was reading about the August 6th and 7th, the presentations. And I think that is exactly what we were talking about. When you look at some of these tools, that all we have to do is put a fresh face. We have to give them new challenges. Something as simple as that is part of where offsite building and where building systems are headed. It's just so clear.
It is. Greg, listen, I love it, man. The immediate past chair. You are a builder, and it showed very much in this conversation that you know how to build award-winning communities and design award-winning designs. And you're a lawyer. You're a down-to-earth guy. And I like the fact that you committed on live. I'm losing my voice. For us to have further conversations on the show, that means a whole lot to me. It means a whole lot, I believe, to our offsite construction community. Thank you so much for taking your time to be on the show with us today. You have any parting words?
Well, thank you all. And, your commitment is second to none. The energy and the focus that this group has, it's just such a breath of fresh air in trying times, especially as we bust out of COVID-19 and the coronavirus challenges. Let's work together into the future. And I really enjoy all of you that are sharing in Dave's efforts, and they're both with Jennifer. They're doing such a great job carrying the message. This is going to be a big part of our ability to take this to the whole thing to the next level. I thank you all. You're a great group.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. Dave Cooper, Greg Ugalde. Have a wonderful day. Greg, you stay tight. I'll be right back to you.